for coming back to this channel so soon. Today I just want to make a really quick video about the new Kodak Gold 200 and 120 film. I know we all got really excited when Kodak announced that they're bringing back the Kodak Gold in 120 format. I mean, I love the colors that I get in Kodak Gold 235mm, so I was really excited to try this film out now in my medium format cameras. So the idea of today's video is very simple. I would just like to try this film in 120 format comparing to 35mm format, because we're all very familiar with how the Kodak Gold look should be, and I would like to see just how similar. I mean, it's essentially the same film stock, but I just like to see them side by side, you know, comparing something that you're familiar with to something that's relatively new to you. I will be taking the photo on both my Pentax 6.7 camera as well as my Nikon F3 camera. Rosemary will be my model. You may or may not have seen her before on my Instagram or TikTok. I have photographed her before on my little baby Pentax camera, and I promised her that I will involve her with a bigger project with bigger camera. So now is the time. We first start off our photo shoot right inside of Rosemary's shop. If you're ever in the city, you should definitely check out her shop. It's a beautifully well-curated vintage store in the West Village, and she just has the best pieces there. Inside of her shop, the space is very tight and we have very little available light. I believe we're shooting on the Pentax wide open at 2.4. Right out of the bat, this film performed pretty good under such low light. I mean, Kodak Gold film, the 200 ISO is not really intended to be used indoor in a low light situation, but I always just like to see how each film performs under artificial light, and just how overall, like, how versatile can this film be. Now, right after we took this photo on the Pentax 6.7, I transferred the same exact setting to the Nikon F3, and we took a photo on the 35mm Kodak Gold. I know I messed up the focusing right here, but I mean, the photo today is not the main subject. We're focusing on how the film looks like, and that's not focusing on that, but I'm sorry. So although we're shooting at the same exact setting on two cameras here, we're getting a very different result. There are multiple factors that can go into the differences here. First of all, we're shooting on completely different cameras, and on the Pentax 6.7 I'm using 105 2.4 lens, and on the Nikon F3 I'm using a 50 1.2 lens. However, you would think that shooting at the same aperture and shutter speed on the same film stock will give you a very similar result. It turned out to be not the fact. Now, for each photo that I take, I also like to test out the range of the film, how much range of dynamic that the film can handle. So I tested out by overexposing and underexposing by 2 stops on each way, just to see how much we can stretch this film. At first glance of this 2-stop overexposure, the shadows are much lifted compared to the correct exposure. Interestingly, the underexposure on the 35mm almost looked like the correct exposure comparing to what we got on the 120 film. I mean, the photo is still out of focus, but they look more similar to each other at different speed than when we're shooting the same exact speed next to each other. Now, after we took the first set of photos inside of her shop, we stepped right outside of her store just to take a few photos under the natural light. So Rosemary's store is located on the south side of the street, and if you're familiar with Manhattan, on the south side of the street we don't get direct sunlight. What we get is a bouncing light from across the street, which on a sunny day like the day we shot this photo, it created this beautiful bounce light that's perfect for portrait. Now, before I show you this photo, I personally love this photo so much. I think it speaks a high value of what this film stock can do. This is what I think of when I think of the Kodak Gold 200 film. We see the highlights in the wide door frame and as well as in the reflection of the store window. It's just perfectly exposed. There's no details that's being missing. However, it still gives a beautiful warm kind of highlights here. Contrasting to the shadows inside of her store, the dynamic range on this film is honestly impressive. To be honest, in my personal opinion and experience, Kodak film stock has not been the best at giving me a diverse result on different skin tones, but this film works beautifully. I have no complaint. Okay, now shooting at the same exact setting on the Nikon F3, it's almost uncomparable for some reason. Lowering the shutter speed to 30th of a second, we instantly brighten up this photo by 2 stops. The film here still handled the overexposures very well. I mean, that's a 2 whole stop overexposure, but looking at the highlights in the store window, we still have much details. I mean, the overall color of the photo has shifted a little bit towards more pink and magenta, but is still doable. Now, to me, the 2 stops under exposure on the 35mm almost look like the correct exposure that we took on the 120 film. However, putting them right next to each other, you can just see how much more this film in 120 could offer, and I am very, very happy with the result, and very happy that I may or may not just find a new favorite 120 film. So as the name might suggest, Kodak Gold gives you this warm, fuzzy, and golden quality when you're shooting under direct sunlight. So me and Rosemary took a little stroll at the park nearby and took some photo under a very harsh direct sunlight. We were able to see just how this film looks like under such a high contrast lighting condition. We still get a really good result here. However, the film tend to shift color into this more pink and red and magenta look when we're really pushing to this limit of the film. Again, the 35mm almost prefer to be shot at underexposure, and the 120 Gold 200 does not like to be underexposed. Overall, this is just a short little testing that I did on the Kodak Gold 200 film in 120 format. Everything I observed and said are just only my personal opinion. Hopefully by me sharing these testing results to you will help you decide whether you would like to try this film and just overall give you an idea how this film looks like comparing to something that we are already familiar with. I'd very much like to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let's hang out there. I loved reading through every single comments in the last videos. Talking to you guys really helped me to just get an idea of what I want to create next on this channel. Speaking of the next video, I just started the challenge of this month. I won't tell you what the challenge is yet. You have to come back till the end of the month to find out. But I would say it's going to be a very difficult one. I can already sense multiple breakdown happening, so if you don't want to miss out that video when it comes out, please make sure that you subscribe to this channel so you can see all my struggling throughout this year. But anyways, I hope to see you in that video, but for now, bye.